It's 10 a.m., so we'll go ahead and get started and we'll let people continue to pop in. Started recording my screen here, so hopefully anyone that misses the beginning or all of this, if they want to, can go back and watch some of this. um, Markets closed today. Good day to study and get prepared for tomorrow and the rest of this week. Um, you guys know, um, well, I also want this chat to be interactive. These after hours chats are a little bit less like the Twitch streams. Feel free to chat, text in the after hours review floor, but don't hesitate to stop me with your microphone. I want this to be a discussion. I have a few things prepared to kind of go over with charts, but beyond that, I want this to be an interactive session where we can kind of gain some insights and learn a couple things together. So, um, all that said, um, you know, everyone's pretty aware that this market has been, I guess we would say, slow. We're not seeing those big gappers that we're seeing sometimes in the market. We're getting, the reason I have REVB pulled up was this was one of our gappers from Friday, one of our leading gappers. It got repeat news after hours the prior day, and we got a little pop, and very little else to play. But I want to go over one, how you can play these, how you can be defensive on these, and what kind of is working in this slower market where we're not getting these massive hundreds of percent moves. Um, Another big emphasis today is going to be the daily charts, and how some of our levels have been working and what are good levels and what are not. So on Friday, had very little to play, but REVB did make a nice pop. If you guys are with us in pre-market, we like to see these volume candlesticks that are at or nearing 100,000 volume per candlestick before we really get interested and kind of put any stock in this move. What we see here is on the 1 minute chart, we get a nice pop right at 7 a.m. So this is when TD Ameritrade and other brokers kind of open up and the volume pours into the market. So, clear buying pressure right out of the gates here at 7 a.m. So what do? We go to our daily chart. So REVB, I don't know if it was a recent IPO or what, but very little data here on the daily. What level do we have to go on? 975. That's actually just about it, but we've got a double top here on the daily at 975. So we mark that level. It blows right through it on this initial 1 minute push. You actually have a wick right to it on the first 1 minute candle, pulls back, makes another rip right through it. So when we're watching for this thing to pull back, we're paying attention to our indicators. Oh man, that sucks. 25 kilos. Sorry, bud. Um, we're looking at our ADMA, we're looking at VWAP, keeping in mind that, very early in these moves, you got to let VWAP and your EMAs kind of have some time to hold some value. But here we have a 1 minute flag, pull back to the ADMA. We've got VWAP. If you marked your daily level at 975, you can look at your VPA. Look at this. I mean, pretty good 1 minute flag to take a stab on, right? If you bought here in 975. What happens? We get a pop up to, almost, pretty much 50 cents here. So, what we like to see on these flag breaks is we want it to break all the way up through the top of the flag. But in this market, we're seeing a lot of this, right? So what you want to start to pay attention to in these flags is once we start to find that base, and you can start to see the range of price action within the bottom of the flag here. Where is it finding its resistance? This 1020 area, you can see 3 1 minute wicks kind of struggling at this 1020 area. So you want to start to pay attention to that. When this holds your level here around 975 and starts to move in your favor, we want to see this, build some strength and break over the resistance area, which it does. We get a volume increase right here, a pop right through it. Now, a rule that I've been having in my head for these flags is Once this flag starts to break any minor resistance within the flag, I don't want to see it put in any more lows after that. I'm not going to stick around to see if this holds this again or sets up an even bigger pattern, lower lows. I'm not going to stick around once that happens. I'll let this thing digest over my level as much as it needs to, but once this starts to make it put its push, I want it to push. I want it to either go or not. So what happens? We break our 10-20 level, starts to set up a 1 minute flag, doesn't necessarily get stuffed right here, starts to try to push and break the previous 1 minute candle high here for continuation. This is where we kind of get this push down. A little bit higher volume, nothing crazy here. I wouldn't call this a major stuff. So if you got your buys down here in this 975, 980 level, you're fine. Once you got this push and it doesn't continue with this little 1 minute flag here, you're probably taking some off the table. You might let this breathe a little bit, but you're starting to get a little more wary here because we're still over our 975 support, which we established on our daily level here. Comes down, wicks down, holds this level again. Maybe you're out at this point because it didn't do what you wanted to, but hey, this just got sucked up off 975 again. Okay, well, maybe I give this support area a chance to hold. You're probably at this point taking smaller size just to see if this will work, still above its support level, nothing else to watch on the morning so far. So this is what I want to pay attention to right here, and this is more indicative of what we've been seeing on some of these flags. This does hold our 975. Buyers do try to make their push. You can see the volume come in right here. We shoot back up over 10. We have a few 1 minute wicks here, kind of a flat top resistance area here at 10.10. That's a stuff. This is where sellers came in and said, "Nuh-uh, we're not doing any of this." So you can see from here, it unwinds quickly. These are the things you want to pay attention to in your flags. You can get so zoned in on your bullish sentiment on some of these flags that you just want to hold, give it every last chance to hold this support. But when you start to see buyers make their push and sellers come in and stuff them hard, that's a big red flag that you want to bail for profits, tiny profits, or break even before you get caught in this flush. If you're really quick, you might even want to be able to short off of this. And I've been watching for this too. Failed flags on a stuff on the flag resistance break stuff. I've been looking to get short sometimes on these. So REVB breaks down. This is a lot of what we've been seeing in pre-market, guys. This is you're seeing a major move up. Unless you're slapping this news, you're not really able to catch this on any technicals. Maybe a slight bounce on some support. Probably not continuing. We might get one every now and then that continues for a nice move, and we want to be there for it. But otherwise, we're taking some off the table, taking our base hit, and not getting caught in this. That's the name of the game right now. But key takeaways here, 975 was a good level. We had a flag that set up on top of it. You even had some support from yesterday after hours in this level. So you're looking for confluence in these levels, and those are the ones that you want to try on your flag support. You don't just want to try any time that it tests the 80 MA. You don't just want to try any random pivot you see. You want to see some confluence in those support levels. Okay, let's go to, does anyone want to talk any more about REVB or have a comment or question about this before I move on to GFAI? Okay, we'll go to GFAI. This was the banger on Friday. So, this thing had news. What was it? Plans to expand robotics as a service to China's Greater Bay Area. So catalyst there, when I'm looking at these, I might look at the news a little bit and kind of see how it reads, see if it sounds fluffy or whatever. But really what I'm paying attention to as a technical day trader is what's the volume? Where are my levels? Is the market paying attention to this thing? What else is going on in the market? Is there anything else that traders are playing? This thing, let's see. This was the morning. You can see because there's very little price action in after hours the day before. This is a low volume name. So what do? We go to the daily. My daily chart's small right here. Let's see if I can make it big enough for this discussion. Yeah. And I mean, look, there's just no volume on this name, like tiny. And if you scroll back in here, you know, not a lot of volume to go off of. So as soon as we start to see a million, 2, 3, 10 million in this thing, we know that it's, big volume for the name. Volume precedes price, right? VPA 101. So start to mark our levels. Um, I chose to mark this immediate double top on the daily here, this 114. You can see that it starts to respect it here and pre-market a couple of times, so that's a good sign. Volume still really low. We're starting to get over 100,000 volume, so maybe I'm paying attention here, but I'll tell you, I didn't trade any of this yet. This was still so low volume in this price action here that I wanted to wait and see if the market was going to give this news any value. All right, so the next daily level. This 122 area, there's the top of a daily candle here, there's a wick here, there's a double top here, there's some congestion in here, a little hitch. So I really started to think that this 22, 23 area was a good spot to put a line. What I've learned about these daily levels is there's a little bit of an art to it. There's no science behind like, oh, every time there's a wick, you mark a level there. You want to look at where the chart has respected a level multiple times, and it can be in different ways. Sometimes it'll oscillate around it and have some congestion there. Sometimes it'll have a nice pivot right to it. But you can see, this area had, multiple respects of this level on the daily. So I went ahead and marked that. I threw this one on 128 in real time in order to catch a move. It just becomes part of your process. So if you look at, I didn't. I'll be honest, I didn't pay attention to this name. I knew it was on the gappers because it had news and there was very little else going. So I knew GFI was one of them. I don't even think I marked this thing until it had a high volume push out of the gates. So when you're asking about how long it takes, you know, if you guys saw my trade from Friday, I wasn't buying until this area. So look how many 1 minute candles I had to do my charting. It's plenty of time. Um, so what I'm doing is marking this level. There's, a wick here, a top of a daily candle here, another wick here, so I marked 128. There's a double top here, so I marked 134. Then, we start to see a wick here that's got some confluence with the bottom wicks of this area, so I marked 140, 141. When I'm looking for the next level up for some resistance, you've got the confluence of your half dollar, you've got the bodies of the candles here, which I'm using the bodies because the wicks are kind of all over the place in this area, but you've got a double bottom here, and then you've got the bottom bodies of these candles, which is most of the price action here. Just a little bit above is the bottom of here too. So there is a level here that's important in this half dollar range, just above the half dollar. Keep going up. We've got a double bottom here. We've got a couple bodies. Nice level here at 170. Obviously a psych level at 2, but not a whole lot really to mark on the daily in my opinion, so I'm just keeping in mind the psych level of 2. More confluence here on the bottom of this support area back in this daily chart that I marked the 220 area. So got my levels marked on the daily. Now what I do next is I look at the intraday chart. What levels from the daily has the intraday chart chosen to respect so far? Looks like we've got a 1 minute or a 5 minute pivot here off of 222, 223, which I marked. 128 showing some resistance, 134 showing some resistance, 114 showing some support. So these levels aren't always exact, but you can start to see how the chart just behaves, and pinballs off of these levels. So when did we get interested in this? high volume push out of the gates, we start hearing this thing on scanners. We start to recognize that, buyers are going to start to have eyes on this thing. There might be one or two other candidates in the works that also have strong pushes out of the gates, but buyers are starting to look at this. Oh, it has a catalyst. Look how much volume this has for this name. Traders are starting to realize these things. We get resistance off the 134 level again, which has some confluence with pre-market, starts to pull back. Look at this VPA on the 5-minute. We get this first. Let's go to the 1 minute so we can see how this developed. Okay, so 3 times we kind of test this 34 area and start to pull back. You might be tempted to take this 128 level. You have triple bottom on the 1 minute. We push up, we come back, we hold it again, we push up again. I wasn't interested in here because yes, we had a daily level. Yes, it could have gone, but one, we have a high volume stuff when it attempted to break out. And I like to take the lower risk pullbacks. I like the pullback to quote unquote make sense. And Mikey talks about pullbacks making sense a lot. And I always wondered kind of what that meant. If you look at this push up from, below 114 all the way up to 135, if this only pulls back to 128, I mean, that's like less than a third of the initial move. If this was really strong, it could continue from here, but it's gonna exhaust out at some point. It's rare that these things just like rip, and when they just rip straight up, there's not really a chance for us as technical traders to get a low risk trade out of that. When it's up here and hanging up on top of this level, I just see more downside risk than I see upside reward from this thing. You've got heavy resistance at 134 that it's already proven from pre-market, and this flat bottom support, there's just downside opportunity in this for me. So you could try it, but try it small. We really want to see these 5-minute flag pullbacks to be more of like a 50% pullback from the initial move. Those are the ones that really gain that support and have power for a stronger move up. So when this pulled back down here, our VPA on the 5-minute started to look good. We love these 5-minute flags. Look at the low volume pullback in relation to the push up. Our 8 EMA has caught up. Our 20 EMA even has caught up. We have confluence of the 122, 123 level. This is the setup that I want to take. This is the setup that I want to grab size in the bottom of. This is the setup that I want to give a little bit of room. Maybe this wants to test 120. Maybe this wants to hold the 20 EMA. This is one that I need to go ahead and accept my risk that I'm going to give this, 5 cents or so on a name this cheap. 5 cents or so of risk, and I'm just going to go ahead and accept that, hey, I'm going to take that risk for the 5 cents on this thing for this thing to hold. It might go a little deeper than I want it to. It might not hold this level exactly, but it's worth the risk for the upside move. So what do we get? We're patient through this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or so 1-minute candles while it holds our level, and we're adding. We're soaking up these dips in here, seeing if buyers want to hold this thing. What do we get? Nice, increased volume pop up here. 1-minute flag over VWAP, another volume pop. We're testing this 134 area again. We're not getting stuffed. More volume in the breakthrough. Now a lot of eyes are on this. Scanners are going off as it's making new highs. Look, we reject right off that 141 level, the daily level. Keep in mind, we marked all these levels before this move happened. Look how great this is working for us. Now, this comes back, and look how strong this 134 resistance was from pre-market and the open push. Now it's support. You have 5 1-minute candles showing you that buyers are holding this up. They want more. I added some back here. I scaled on the push above the flag break. I'm adding some back here. Now this thing really starts to open up once that previous resistance becomes support. Oh, looky here, another beautiful 1-minute flag on top of our daily level. This is what you want to see, guys. You want to see volume pushes through your levels, low volume pullbacks, and hold your levels. Those are opportunities for re-entries. Added some back here. A little stutter step here off 171, another daily level. Then we get the major exhaust out move right up to this 220 daily level before it starts to come back down. So that's an exhaust out move. Look at the volume on the shove down when it finally exhausts out. This is the sign that the backside has started. This is the sign that you need to let off the gas. You want to wait and see if it wants to set back up again on some of your daily levels, and look, it starts to, but I'm no longer interested once this happens. I'm all out. I'm going to let this prove to me again that it's worth playing again. Little 1 minute flag here, guess what? It's backside. Some of this starts to work, but this is what we talk about with backside. Much higher risk on this stuff back here. You don't want to get chopped up in this stuff back here. So, um, that's the power of the daily levels right now. That's where you want to mark these and see how they behave. Let it prove to you which ones it's going to trade off of in pre-market in the open, and that's how you can effectively manage your risk on these. Yeah, confluence. That's what we want to see. Okay, any questions, commentary on GFAI from Friday? Got a couple of people typing. We'll let them see what we got coming here. So signs of backside. You want to see the active trend. Yeah, my mic just went, I guess, to sleep on me. I don't know why it doesn't think I'm doing anything. Uh, okay, so signs of the backside are you want to see the active trend breakdown. So you'll notice when these powerful moves, like look how they just gain power and just kind of get steeper and steeper and steeper. Eventually, you'll see this volume push up. And imagine gravity. Like if you're going up a half pipe, at some point, gravity's gonna pull you back down. If you get too steep, gravity's gonna pull you back down. That was kind of my point right here. If this just went ahead and broke out, we're not gonna get that big move like this. You need to come back and scoop up some, you know, it's almost like a slingshot. Like you need to like back into some of this, scoop up some of these buyers and push them back up through. Um, once you kind of get this like huge move like this and things get extended away from your indicators, like look how far this got away from the 80 EMA, the 20 EMA on the 5. That's got to come back. It just has to. So that's your initial warning sign that backside's coming. You can see the high volume shove back down. That's another sign that backside's coming. This parabolic trend that we set up got broken. That's a sign that backside's coming. Let's see. It talks about looking for the big exchange at the top. Look for that huge selling volume. Exactly. Here's your huge selling volume. Look, that selling volume on this 5 minute almost as much as the 5 minute before it on the push up. Big exchange. Exactly right. To the front side. How are you setting managing your risk? For example, on a 5 minute flag, are you trying to buy the bottom of the flag cut call if it doesn't go immediately? Yeah, boba. So I've been separating my trades into a couple different categories. These nice 5 minute pullbacks that hasn't made a huge move that could be the igniting move for a big move, nice VPA 5 minute pullback to a level. These are the ones that I'm getting heavy on, and these are the ones that I'm accepting some downside risk. Maybe I say my risk is 120. The break of 120 I'm cutting, but anything that happens above that, I'm going to let this breathe. Even if it takes 5-10 minutes around this area, I'm going to and tries to wick some people out. I'm going to give this a chance here. I might even give it more. I mean, that's only 2-3 cents. I might give it 5 cents. I might see if it wants to hold this 117 to really give this a chance to go. The other ones, like if I was taking my first entry here, I want to see this 150, 153 hold. If this doesn't hold, I'm not sticking around for this. This has already made a move. It's got downside potential from here. Could easily get stuffed. This is the other example. I'm not sticking around for this. I take this, and if it goes great, if it doesn't, I'm out. I'm probably waiting 1, 2, maybe 3 candles for this to work. The longer this sits and chills here, the less convinced I am that it's just going to continue, so I cut. Let's see. I missed how you noticed this play in the first place. What initially got your eyes on this ticker? It had news. It was on the gappers. Start to see it on scanners, look and see how the relative volume on this was really high for the name since it's such a low volume name traditionally. This one is long. And in case it really play, you let it breathe later on. The more extended it is, you don't want to let it breathe anymore. Yeah, exactly, Bubba. There's these high probability setups, these 5 minutes that Mikey would say are his bread and butter, and then you've also seen Mikey play the half and whole dollar breaks. You've seen him buy micro pullbacks on the 1 minute. 1 minute flags. Those are ones that are worth taking the stab on. But in my opinion, you want to get that exact pullback to your level and not much more than that. These are not ones you chase, and they're not ones you stick around for too long. What a gapper is and why it's important. So Bluebird, when we say gappers, um, these are names that have gapped up overnight. So where they closed their daily candle the prior day, they have news or a catalyst in pre-market, and volume has come into the name, and they are the potential runners for us because they have a catalyst, because volume has come into the name already for the day. So almost always when we have a runner for the day, it's on fresh news. Fresh news comes in the mornings, and so that's what makes our gappers list. We have scanners that show us what the gappers are of the day. Okay, I think I hit all these questions so far. Anything else on GFAI from this one? This was a really good one from Friday. Daily levels you marked show me a lot of potential. Definitely gonna work harder on these. Yeah. These daily levels are so important right now. These can keep you from buying a level that maybe is not as strong as another one. You need to base them off of not just any randomal pivot, but what's been respected multiple times, what's proven to you that it can be a good level, and what is the intraday chart proving to you that it's going to respect. Those are the ones that you want to put some stock in, especially right now. Yeah, for sure. Okay, we'll let Bluebird finish typing this, and then we'll go on to SBEV. So Bluebird, um, yeah, your question about what my expectations are for the trade. Um, it's going to change in different markets. We're in a slow market right now. You can't expect this out of every trade. We're not seeing this out of every trade. Um, I think as a general rule, I don't get too scientific about making a percentage of what I put in or anything like that. What I'm playing is the chart. I have a support level that I like. I'm putting some size into it. I know that if I'm going to give this 5, 6 cents or whatever, what my risk is going to be. I go ahead and accept that risk. I'm comfortable with it. First target is the flag break. Once this goes in my favor, I'll be honest, in this market, Rev B, prime example, once I get this big stick right here, I'm shaving a little bit, but I want to have quite a bit of skin in the game still for this breakout, for the potential that it can continue to go. But the first target is the break of the original flag. When we start to see volume come into this thing and push up at these highs, this continues to be resistance. Maybe you shave a little bit more here. Here's the first target, top of your flag, top of the original push. This is still resistance until it's not. Once we get the push above this, okay, now I want to let some ride. Now we're through previous resistance. We want to see if that can become support. We've shaved a little bit more on this push to the next daily resistance. We might consider adding some back now. This is where I'm considering adding some back. I don't want to let this form some triangle and then get chopped up trying to add in here. I want this to break some resistance first. So when it comes to expectations, I'm not thinking about, oh, there's my 10% or oh, there's my whatever. First target for me, flag break. Next, I'm just trying to stay in for the move as long as the VPA tells me that it's still going. If you get too scientific about what your targets are and what your stops are, and they don't make sense with the chart, you're going to take unnecessary losses and you're going to leave unnecessary green on the table. Is that even if you only make it one due to a failed? Yeah, absolutely, Bluebird. Absolutely. So a lot of these trades fail, and just like Rev B. Let's go back to that for a second. Just like REVB, you can't expect a percentage move out of this. You got to play what's in front of you. We get a volume push up for this flag break. When it doesn't go, hell no, I'm not sticking around just because I didn't reach my whatever target. When this starts to say I'm not going to go, I'm cutting. I'm cutting above my entry, taking my base hit, and moving on. If you look at the 1 to 5 minute chart on this one, it never really made you think it was about to fail, so an easy one to keep holding, in my opinion. Yep. Yeah, GFAI was pretty clean. A little bit easier one to hold, but I will say when you guys study these, it's easy to look and see like, oh, look how it held that level and just went. Like if I bought there, I'm golden. But when this starts to pull back in real time and you're having to assess this moment by moment, I was not nearly as confident as I wished that I was, even though I nailed this trade. Because, we flush through VWAP. Sell volume picks up. We hold this level, go up, test VWAP, reject. We actually make a new low. We make a lower low right here. Now, the key indicator is that our volume didn't get picked up and we got sucked up in this wick. But, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 minutes of sitting here with this not really looking like, it's necessarily going to be a banger yet. So, every one of these minutes is messing with your mind. So it's a lot harder to stay in here and stay zoned in and keep that conviction on heavy size because, okay, we just rejected VWAP, we just made a lower low. These two candles aren't anything special. Buyers kind of sucked right here, but not much else to show for it yet. You have to have accepted your risk at this point. There's nothing in here that's like, oh man, this is about to go until it does. You do not catch this without being in right here when it's looking sketchy. If you wait for this, you're late. If you went 128 and it broke, then it's hard to be confident again to buy at 122. Yep. That's the thing about being early. And that's the other thing that Mikey is also so good at. If you guys notice in pre-market, he's trying and cutting multiple levels. And when he takes those tiny paper cuts at those levels, when he ends up being right, it greatly outweighs those paper cuts that he took. So when you get quick and you have great understanding of your levels and charts, maybe you are able to try 128, cut quickly, and then reset your mind to be able to play off 122. That's where you want to get to. The speed and quickness and comfortability with your setups is where you want to get to, and it just takes time and screen time. What else we got here? A couple people typing. Just a reminder, anyone is free to use their mic in this session too. Want it to be interactive discussion, so appreciate the comments and questions coming in the chat, but also feel free to talk. Yeah, you're right, Gary Long. A cash account is a little bit different situation. And when I started trading, I funded my account over PDT, which had its pros and cons. Um, but I did have a an under PDT account for shorting, and definitely made the mindset a little bit different. But yeah, when we're talking about this, we're talking about truly being able to get in and get out with no consequences. But if you're a cash account, this is a great setup to try, in my opinion. This one right here. Paper cuts is something used often in chat. Is that a fraction of percentage or whole percentage of initial outlay? Paper cuts are just small losses that you have to take when you accept your risk on a trade, Bluebird. It's just rather than taking a big loss, an unacceptable loss, a loss that defies our rules, a paper cut is an acceptable loss that is just part of trading. Like what you don't want to have happen is let your paper cuts add up, because even though you're following your rules and following your trade plan, maybe you're not playing great levels. Maybe you're just stabbing everything that could possibly be a level that you see. Especially in a market like this, it's easy to do. So you want to take these high probability, major confluence on the daily and intraday support levels. Those are the ones that you want to try. If you take a paper cut on this, you're fine. This is what Herv mentioned actually in his stream yesterday, that he kind of told me as my mentor. You want to look back at your day, at your trading day, and be happy with the trades that you took. Even if you're red, even if they didn't work, you just want to be happy with the stabs you took. Don't get caught taking these ones that are just not great setups like this. Even though this worked right here, I'm not really a fan of this 128 hold after this high volume flush down. I just think the risk reward there is not that great. I mean, that's about as best case scenario as you can ask for. And these are not the kind of trades that I want to be hitting all day. These are the trades I want to be hitting all day. So, you want to only take paper cuts for sure, but you also want to be taking the right paper cuts so that, your big wins are greatly outweighing your few paper cuts. Yeah, DBX ray. I'm bad about that too. I'm still over trading in this market. I'm still trying too many things. And then when I look back at my day and some of the trades I'm going over today with you guys, it's like, man, why didn't I just wait for these ones that I knew were the great setups all along? Okay, a few more things to go over here. So let's go and move on to SBEV. We can come back to any of these once we get through them. All right, so I posted a handful of times on the floor and also on Twitter that SBEV was my top watch last week after it put in this big first day. So back on uh, the 11th, SBEV got major volume on news, major gap up, major volume for the name. Like, look on the daily. Like this thing, hasn't had any kind of volume like this in the past 52 weeks. So big deal, right? Um, we're marking our daily levels. I didn't even have a big trade on this the first day, I don't think. I mean, you know, opportunity here. This volume is only just getting to where we're interested. Kind of looks sketchy, but went. Pretty much immediately backside. I mean, no 5-minute flag set up. Let me go back to this. So if you look at this 5-minute, if you're looking for a nice 5-minute setup in pre-market, which is our favorite, I mean, yeah, we hold the half dollar here, okay. Um, yeah, we hold the ADMA, but look how many candles this took. This isn't really. This was a good trade. I mean, I won't say it's not, but we like these ones that are like two, maybe three candles for the pullback. This one's just a little bit different. You could have been more patient, played off of this 150, and caught this. But what I want to talk about on this one is daily levels and the daily setup. If Herb was in here, he would be awesome to be part of this discussion. Because let's go look at the daily. Very first thing we do when we're looking at a chart, right, is check out the daily for our levels. Come on. Here we go. All right, when we get this gap up, you know, again, we kind of have the half dollar here, but similar to RAVB, like, or a GFAI, at this half dollar, not a whole lot of daily chart support. So, you know, mark the level, but it's a little sketchy. The one that I was especially interested in was 165. You know, daily wick right to it, triple bottom on the daily, another daily candle, a wick through it, but it held, and then two daily candles, actually a third right here around it. 165, great level to mark. Look how much confluence is on that 165 level. Plus, you know, you can see intraday. I mean, this thing kind of oscillated around it, but settled, you know, clearly around this 165. Is just gravitating to it like a magnet. So faded off like these names sometimes do, you know, kind of came back up. Look, when it broke 165, a little bit of volume came in, started to establish it as support here. So what we want to do in this market is make a watch list of the runners each day. And I need to clean mine up because it's been a couple of weeks, but I have a watch list that if I see a big runner or something that had major, you know, major volume for it, I throw it on a watch list because I want to keep an eye on it for the coming weeks. So my process in the mornings and at night is I go and update myself on what happened with those charts of the previous runners. What did they put in on the daily? So that I did that on SBEV. I didn't have a big trade on SBEV the first day that it ran, even though there was opportunity there. But what I did do was note that, okay, major daily volume, throw that on the watch list. The next day, tiny volume and it held up. That's when I start to really get interested. Look at that. Holding over 165 pretty much all day. Tiny volume. If any shorts got in to this name up in here, thinking that this is just going to fade off back down to $1, if they had any size at all, no liquidity to get out. None whatsoever. This thing just held up. This is what we would call kind of an inside bar, right? It's a little more bullish than that even, but price action stayed within the range of the previous day, very low volume. So going into day 3, high watch for me. High watch. Importance of daily levels. 165 was key. So this is when I started to post on Twitter and everywhere else that, okay, SBEV over 165, really interested in it. Want to see high volume break of that 185 level, the top of the previous daily candle. That was going to be my trigger. Yeah, that's a good idea. Stockatect. We can probably do that. We've done that a little bit in after hours chat before. There was some stuff on level 2 that I thought was significant, and we've watched it on my replay before, so I'll keep that in mind. It takes a little bit of prep because you have to go in and like kind of crop out that segment of a video and have it prepared, but we can definitely do that. So you can see, you know, I wouldn't call this like a major volume push, but day 3 we push up through 185 resistance, hold it, acts like it might want to go, fakes out, pulls back. I actually took a little cut on this because I tried to buy off of 85. I wanted to be there for the move if it was going to start, but it didn't, and then ended up recovering, holding over 85. This chart made me feel like Herv. You guys have noticed how great Herv has been at finding these daily setups and nailing trades on them. But I can't tell you how many times we've looked at a chart, really liked it. BTCS is a prime example. We took our entries, you know, they chopped us around, made us sweat through our risk, chopped us out, had to get back in. Oh, this looks good again, over and over and over again. And then the trade just took a day or two longer and it leaves without you. And I'll be honest, on SBEV, it left without me. I did not catch this major move. I didn't catch um, money on this until honestly up in here. This is where I finally got FOMO and tried with small size on pullbacks that made sense to me to try to catch some of this move. But this one I'm very bitter about because my reads were correct. I just was a little too impatient and got shaken out on my trades. I was sitting at the 165 bid level all day on this thing. I had 168s and 165s, even down to 160s. I was going to load this thing here. Never got it. When it broke 185, I was mad. I tried to buy the pullback, shook me out because it flushed all the way 10 cents down. So this sucked. This left without me. But the important thing being, look at this daily setup. High volume, holds major daily support on low volume, breaks to the upside, has major continuation once we get the actual breakout over 2. Major. Look at that. These have been working in this market. This is what Herv has been banking on. So got to make a process of throwing those runners in a daily chart and watching them each day. Which ones are holding up and then which ones are not. If they completely break off and sewer down to their original price before the move, remove them from your chart. Don't waste your time. But these with potential, set alerts. Set alerts at 165, set alerts at 185. Know what your plan is if it comes down to the support area. Know what your plan is if it breaks out of the resistance area. So you can be in for these. Do you think GFAI is setting up the same way? Good question. It very well could. It's too early to say because we've only just had that first day. But yeah, look, I like this. I like this 150 area. Um, maybe this 140 area, but yeah, if we hold this 150 area and go sideways for a day, could absolutely be. You know, but go ahead and set your look. We've got if it was me, you know, I'm probably setting an alert somewhere around 185 to the upside, and I'm probably going to create an alert with this drawing crossing below. So now I have my range, right? If my 150s hit, I want to pay attention. Is this just going to break and sewer on down? Or is this going to hold up? I've got it in my watch list already, so if I don't touch it tomorrow and it's just a quiet name and it just kind of does this all day, then I'll definitely have it on high watch on Wednesday. And then this becomes really important to me. I might try to load off of the support that gets put in tomorrow and, have some position for the following day. And then what I really want to see is a volume break. I want to see a high volume break of resistance. If we start getting over 185 and start to prove it as support, if we start to show this 183, 2, 3, 4, 5 as support, and we start to get a nice break of it and it pulls back and starts to hold right here, I'm going to add even more because that's what we want to see. Previous resistance becomes support. We want to see shorts from this high volume day trapped, no liquidity for them to cover yet. We want them to have to cover once it breaks these support levels and ultimately go for the 2, 210, 220 break and on up. Even to, this 290 level, 320. That's what you want to keep your eyes out for. Doesn't always work this way. See a lot of false breaks too. This could pop up over 180 and then just come right back down. And that's what happened on SBEV the first day and got me shaken out. Yeah, so people are throwing out setups that are similar, and yeah, I mean I've got a watch list of probably 15 of these things at this point now that have significant levels to play off of. Okay, here's the next one, guys. Relly. I've made the most money on this name of any other name all year because I've played it multiple times on multiple days. Similar deal. Let's go way back. Look how many levels I have on this dang thing. All right, here was day one, back in December. So big move. This might have been the day that Mikey caught that huge move up. Yeah, sure thing, Killer. We'll have this saved, so it'll be posted later. But what I really want to show is how, once this thing is stuck around for so long, sometimes these levels, a couple of them can become very significant to you. So Relly, another example of a name that, was down here in the $3 level, got news, major move up on high volume, started trading below the first trading day a little bit, small pop here, really just ran in. My mic keeps shutting off. um, Traded below, but got to push up, but continued to hold this 430 level. Got more volume again, started to put in a bullish pattern again up against this 570 resistance. Popped up, started trading above. Now, we get this 750, 730s area. You can see this is where I originally started drawing these two levels right here. And what I want you guys to key into is the 735 level, because I'll show you how this became so significant to me and how I've made money off of it multiple times since then. So you can see this is where I originally marked it. Comes back down, but if you look at the bigger chart, this thing is still an intact bullish chart at this point. It's recovered and started to trade in these ranges again, so it's never pulled off my watch list. Okay, comes up, start to have more trading kind of in this range, like establishing 750, 737. Still kind of resistance at this point, but just noting how it's in the range. Still holding in these 5s and 6s. Okay, another big push. This is when I started taking my first trade off of 735. Okay. I had 735, 750 marked as key levels before. Big push up on volume, VPA, low volume on this pullback. Even though we get a little bear flag and push down, we hold the 20, we hold VWAP. We put in a pivot right here at this 730s, 750s area. A volume push up, a 5-minute flag pullback to this immediate pivot before it. Also have the confluence that I showed you before where I marked 750 and 735. The VPA was there. I took this. Big move up. Great 5-minute flag. Great level to hold. Look at this. Flushes back down, hold 735. Not saying this is a trade you should take, but you're starting to notice how much that this 735 gets respected. All right, let's keep moving forward. This is my first trade, like I said, and I'm starting to recognize that 735 keeps getting respected. Trading around it, kind of goes up through it, loses it. Look at this. 5-minute flag, beautiful VPA off of 735. Again, proves to be a strong level. Pulls up. This was a new thing that I noticed here. Look at this major flush to 735. But what's significant about this? Even though this is a big drastic flush, Look at that wick. It gets sucked up. Look at the volume compared to the push up. Still low relative volume. This is where I start to notice the personality of Rally. One, 735 is significant to me. Two, this thing likes to give exaggerated flushes. This chart has gotten so big and so expanded that, sometimes in the bigger picture, like we're like 2 weeks into this overall pattern now. Not every move is going to be a perfect 5-minute flag. Some of these washes are more drastic, exaggerated washes than we want to see in the micro time frames, but the overall chart continues to bounce through these levels. And so I'm starting to notice the personality. This thing is recovering off of key levels after exaggerated drops. So starting to notice, I can't remember if I took this trade specifically or not, but I started to watch, okay, I'm going to watch for these big flushes that the day trader scalpers are going to get shaken out of, but they're on lower relative volume to the rest of them, and I'm going to buy where it settles off of a key level and just see if it grinds back up for me, because that's the personality of Relly. So 735 holds again, pushes up. I'm starting to notice on, let's see, what day is this? 1-4. Okay. I'm starting to notice that the way that these behave is these 1-minute bear flags are giving extended moves down. 1-minute bear flags, extended moves down. So when I start seeing um, 1-minute bear flags, exaggerated moves down to key levels, I'm taking stabs on these at this point on this chart. So 735, that's been my key. I just started setting alerts at 735 for this chart specifically. Also kind of starting to watch 850 as a support level now that it's over this. Okay. This is where we have a drastic sell-off down. Bounces off 735 for a second, rejects and goes for the downside. This is becoming, this is where support's becoming resistance. So another key note there. Still a resistance. But look how much confluence is being developed here. Resistance, resistance. Okay, what do you know? Now we're back above with volume. We break a resistance level with volume. What does that become? Support. I'm buying 735. Doesn't matter how big the move is up. It's going to give me a pop off of that. I've got confidence in this name now. Triple bottom, 735. This one comes down a little bit lower, but ultimately decides it wants to hold it. It's keeping the pattern intact. Open flush, 735. This became a joke on the trading floor. If you guys were paying attention, me and Jumanji's talk about this a lot. For some reason, my alert didn't trigger on this day, so I didn't even pull it up. But he tagged me and was like, "Yo, look where Relly held again." 735, running joke. So the point being, daily levels. Mark them. Mark the ones that have become really significant to you. Create a trade plan around them. Put alerts on so that when something happens, you can go look at the chart, look at the levels you marked in the past, see what the nature of it is, and see if it makes sense to take a stab. I mean, look at this. You buy a lotto down here, and you know the personality of Relly. I mean, this doesn't surprise you at all. Okay. All right. I want to get on to the other thing I wanted to talk about today. So that's small caps. That's daily levels. That's how to find the plays that you can be confident in taking some size on and giving a chance, and kind of gives you some insight on how to avoid the ones that don't have as much strength. Also, your process for keeping a watch list of the runners for the week, past 2 weeks, and seeing which ones are staying intact. Now I want to talk a little bit about. I also have been trading some mid and large caps in this market. I've had my eyes on AMC a lot, just because it has range. Um, Coming into Friday, well, let's look at SPY first. Coming into Friday, we had this nasty move down Thursday. Not sure what we're going to get Friday, but look, pre-market just sold off. I'm starting to feel really bearish. I'm reading some things about the market that make me feel bearish. We've got a head and shoulders look on the daily on SPY. You can kind of see this head and shoulders look we've got going here. Um, what's SPY going to do? Is it just going to sewer down further? Is it going to give us a bounce? I don't know. But, I decided that day that I'm leaning bearish. I'm not sure, but I'm leaning bearish. Okay. When I'm trading these mid and large caps, I'm paying attention to SPY and I'm paying attention to market sentiment. So here's what I started to pay attention to. Okay, we get the push out of the gates. Okay, are we going to recover? I don't know. We start to hit some resistance up here at this 465 area, which was after hours resistance before. We really need to get up over this 466 to go green. But we reverse. That's fine. What happens here? Do we continue? Do we do a pullback and go? No, we really just sewer on down. We test lows again. So I'm still feeling bearish, especially when we push back up through VWAP, reject the next resistance area and start coming down more. We make new lows. Okay, pretty bearish, right? I have this trend line, and I know that if SPY wants to push up to end the day, it's got to break this trend line. It's got to start breaking these key levels. This 463.40 area towards the end of the day was key to me because that was the prior day's close. You saw where it was support turned resistance right here. We flushed right through it easily. Got up over it but couldn't hold it. Proved to be resistance again multiple times in the day. So, when we break this downtrend, I'm like, okay, here's the real test. Are we going to break this pivot? This was a crucial point. Power hour, 3 o'clock. This was a crucial point for me. Is the market going to turn its sentiment from bearish to bullish? This right here is important. So, I did not trade SPY, but what I did trade was AMC. Because I was short biased on the market, I was short biased on AMC as well. It followed the market this day, rejected its resistance levels similarly to SPY. I start to notice through the day that the charts aren't exactly the same, but the sentiment is. So all day, I had good shorts all day off of this 2035, 2040 level. I caught this short. I think we rode this bear flag short down, had some good trades here. But when this held 20 and pushed back up and started to kind of have this cup and handle look, here coming into 3 o'clock, I'm like, my gut's telling me that I might need to reconsider my bias here. And so I started to plan a trade. And I said, okay, clear intraday level, 2035, 2040. If price can get up over this, I'm going to be bullish to go long, especially if I see confluence from SPY. So that was my plan. I was short biased this whole time. Like when it rejected here, I'm thinking, okay, maybe we make a little push here, but roll over and go down. But no, when this double topped here and started to look up and handle, I'm like, maybe I'm long. Maybe I'm long biased now. So this was my plan. I wanted to see a volume push up over this resistance, and I wanted to see a low volume pull back. I also noticed the time. This is coming right into 3 o'clock. I want to see low volume pull back, hold this support level for the move up. What's happening on SPY? Oh, come on. Let me change my time frame. it'd be easier to switch around. So SPY, as it's coming up here, this just has like a boiling effect to me. It's just creeping up. The sentiment is just building that like, okay, this is the type of action that it needs to break through this. This doesn't need one of these to just exhaust out really quick and quit. This just kind of boils up and it's like, okay, man, this is chopping towards this 463.40. I'm interested. I think this gets over. So I started to prepare this trade. Look, 3 o'clock, starting to test it, making higher lows. So I wanted to see confluence with the 463.40 break and my mid and large cap trades off of support levels as well. That's what I was watching for. So go back to AMC. What do I get? I get my pullback. I added pretty dang good size here on 2035. And I sat there for 15 minutes and was watching this, but really on my other screen, I had SPY pulled up and I was like, okay, SPY, keep putting in higher lows, keep bleeding up towards that 463.40. That's going to be my key for this break. As soon as SPY busted over that, guess what happened? This VPA held support and the confluence of the market sentiment busted this for the flag break for a nice win for me. Like I said, I had pretty good size on this move here, so was very happy. 3 o'clock. Guess what else I was in? Basically, I had all of my account funds deployed between these two names. Similar setup. 2509 on forward was a daily pivot. 25 had proven to be a resistance level for the day, a support level for the prior move. The daily setup was there if you go and study this daily chart. Watching for the same thing. I want forward, based on the market sentiment, to break over its resistance levels, give me a lower volume pullback to the resistance turn support, and I bought this 2510, 2509 level. Look at that time. 3 double bottom 5-minute candles, just like AMC. Right after 3 o'clock, SPY starts breaking those levels. Ford makes a push. Now, this was only 10 cents. I wanted more out of this one. This rejected 2520. I went ahead and took my profits. I wasn't going to ride this back down. For whatever reason, this one didn't have the extension that the others did. But an example, again, of daily levels turning from resistance to support and planning trades accordingly. And then with these large and mid cap names, being aware of market sentiment. So these took my day from being just a marginal, almost break even day to a decent green day. And I took these simultaneously. They happened at the exact same time. Okay, let's see here. All right, so I've got a little more time. Take profits there, not wait it out. I didn't know necessarily. I mean, you can see we got a nice stick up against 2520. We bounce off it. Let me see if the 1 minute shows a little better. Like you can see right here, it has this little flag, but like eventually it needed to break over 2520. Like this had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, almost 10 minutes of it just bumping against 2520 and not going. And then, keep in mind I'm in from down here. When this didn't want to go and sell volume came in on this stick, I just took my smaller gain, called it a day. I wasn't going to get greedy here at the end of the day, knowing that, SPY does wacky things, especially going into a long weekend. I wanted that 2520 break ideally, never got it. Took my base hit. Got a much better trade out of AMC. And that's why I was in both of them. If you looked at this chart, this is a more bullish looking chart. Like this one actually got over daily chart resistance, actually got over intraday resistance, could have made a really nice move into the close, but AMC was the one that made the bigger move, and I was split between the two of them and had nice trades with both. Trading around a core, recycling shares. Yeah, so GFAI is an example. Let's talk about this. All right. Like we talked about before, this is where you want to get heavy. This is where you have your defined risk. This is where you want to really give this a chance to make a move. You know, like I said, my first targets were up here at the top of the flagpole and the flagpole break. So I scaled quite a bit, you know, probably half or more at this point. When this pulled back and is gonna, you know, turn that resistance into support, I added back. So this becomes my core. This is what I had from the very beginning. And I take some profits off of my core, but I've got a core of, let's say, 1,000 shares, whatever you want to use. I had 2,500, and now I have, or I had 2,000, now I have 1,000. That's my core. I want to ride this. When this pulls back here, maybe I take 500 back. Now I have 1,500. It's really important here. This is an important rule of mine. Whenever I'm adding back on something like this, on something that's already made a move, on something that has a little higher risk than it did down here, I'm never adding back. I won't say never, but most of the time I'm not adding back full size or more of what I had here. It's a rule of mine right now that if I take more, I'm smaller than when I started. I've given back too many profits on a nice move on the first initial move by getting heavy again, sometimes heavier, and it not working for me. So I take back some here, but I'm around that core of 1,000. So now I have 500. Now, you know, with the move up from here, you know, I can sell those 500 extras that I grabbed and still hold on to that 1,000 for more of this move. Same thing here. When it comes back and does the 1 minute flag over 150, I'm not adding back my original full size. I'm adding back a smaller chunk, probably even smaller than I got here. The more this moves out, the more downside risk you have. So maybe I still have my 1,000 core, maybe I'm down to 750 or 500, and then I add maybe 250 back here. Now my core is smaller because the move has made a nice move up, but I added back to it and riding all the way up. Recycling shares is a little bit different. Recycling shares would be, okay, this isn't a great example, but let's say I like this 128 level and I buy 2,000 of this 128 level. It makes a push up, kind of gets stuffed. You know, I don't think it's going to make this push. Now it's starting to look a little bit head and shoulders to me. So maybe I take 1,000 or 1,500 off right here for small profits. But I'm prepared to add lower because I still like this chart. I still want to be in case it goes. But now I have more support that I'm looking for to get heavier on again. So I take off these shares with intention of adding them back. Maybe I take off 1,500 or 1,000 shares here, and then I add them back here. That's recycling. It's taking position at a level when it doesn't give you the look you want. You scale out a lot or most, and then you're ready to add them back lower, and you're recycling on the downtrend until it breaks up for you. During power hour, yeah. All good, Cameron. Yeah, we'll have this recorded too. Yeah, recycling, guys, don't use recycling as an excuse to buy bad levels because the act of recycling is going to result in loss for you. Like by the time you get down to your bottom ads, you're going to be more underwater than if you waited for those bottom ads, but it does give you some exposure in case it doesn't come all the way to your ideal ads. So there are situations that you want to use it, but it doesn't mean just recycle every level you find or you will get cut up. And then if the trade ultimately doesn't work after you've recycled, it ends up being bigger than just a regular paper cut loss. Okay. Thoughts on SBEV run during power hour on Friday. Get that breakthrough view app. hold 3, and push higher day. With the current state of the market, would you anticipate that kind of move based on the price action and volume? Yeah, so we talked about how, you had a nice squeeze out here. But again, shorts piling in here, similar to the bigger, broader move that broke out. When it pulls back, I mean, it just held 260. Lower volume, not really any chance for these people to get out. When this pops back up over support again, look at this VPA. A nice 5-minute flag here. Very low liquidity in here for any shorts to get out. So, I mean, they're trapped, you know. This might be their stop that fuels this move up. This is definitely more stops when buyers defend this and push this on up, squeezes them out, shorts add to the buying pressure. This just starts skipping and the demand comes in, the volume comes in. That's why when this thing was just totally going and hadn't had that exhaust out move yet, like here's the thing. Yes, major move up. But where's your exhaust out move? Where's that high volume push down that shows exhaustion? Never really happened, just hung around, just grind it. Same thing here. Where's that exhaust out move? Where do we see the shorts and sellers really come in and shove this down on high volume? Never really happens. So, Herv caught this and, for a big gain. I caught this for a little gain. Herv bought this 5-minute flag, which was a great 5-minute flag, right over $3. Squeezing out another 1-minute flag, keeps going. These are the ones that are active momentum. These are the ones that I might take small size stabs on support to try to catch the move. I might give it a beat, a minute, 1, 2 candles to see if it's going to hold my level and go. I'm very protective of my average. I'm not going to let this flush down on me. I want to be in for the move. I do not want to be in if it flushes down. So when I'm doing this, my mentality about it is okay, let's say I buy this 1-minute pullback. My downside risk is tiny. Maybe I'm risking this right here, I'm giving this 5 cents or less, but I know that if I catch this move on small size, I'm not selling right here. I'm expecting this move to really go up. I want to catch the upside move. So when you think your risk to reward, you're risking 4 or 5 cents on a micro pullback for, what does this end up being, 40, 50 cents on the upside? That's good risk reward. You have to obey your risk on these and cut very quickly. If this comes and I buy, 340, 341, whatever, and I'm saying 335 is my risk. As this starts coming down here and I see volume coming in, sellers coming in, I'm cutting that dang thing. I'm not waiting for a flush down through it. I'm getting out. This was a stab. If it goes without me, holds and goes without me, but it didn't look how I wanted to, fine, I missed it. I don't care. I'm not exposing myself to this. Micro pullbacks, you're in, you want it to go in your favor, or you're out. Okay, guys, I only have a few more minutes here. We've been on over an hour, but what other questions, discussion do we have? I kind of went over all my planned material for today. Hell yeah, man. Enjoy it. Um, I have 8 thumbnails that I'm watching at all times, but I cycle those through based on what I think have the most potential. And then I have a handful that I kind of look at every day, like AMC, LCID, Tesla, SPY. But then I have another watch list of all the daily setups, and I'm not really actively watching those throughout the day unless things get really slow. I'm usually studying those at night or in the morning to see what has the best potential for the day that I want to put on my thumbnails. Do I see potential to fill the gap? Yeah, sure, why not? If this firms up over 4, You've got this window gap up to 530s. It's possible. But what you want to keep in mind that this just made a massive move. So if it goes, it might pull back first. It might have to re-establish itself. But yeah, I mean, definitely worth keeping on watch for the continuation move. Just keep in mind your downside risk. Yeah, Herb and I were on ATIP on Friday. Um, you know, got volume. Did this have news? Price target, $5 price target. I mean, it's all right. I don't love these ones that are trading with like how much volume did this get? Less than 20 million volume. Like, yeah, it's decent for the name, but and I'm definitely going to keep it on watch, but these aren't my personal bread and butter. Herv is better at these than I am. Hell yeah. Love to hear it. Krista Diggs. I am not full time. I started in March of 2020 during the pandemic. Um, and I have a job that pays me well, that I work from home, that I kind of create my own schedule. So still got that going while I build up a nice nest egg and really want to see sustained consistency, especially in markets like this before I go full time. But it's definitely a goal of mine. I'm a healthcare real estate consultant. Uh, Mic went off again. Um, and I had a really bad
Mhm.
wrist injury. Um, like right when that pandemic started, and so I was sitting on my butt all the time, and that's when I got into the market. I really didn't know anything about it before that. I remember I had Robinhood before the pandemic, and I was in Workhorse, 3 or 4 years ago, whenever Trump said something about the postal service, and it like went really big, and I made like $1,000, and I was pumped. But that's like all I knew about the market before March. Yeah. Um, in the mornings, it's easy for me to wake up because I love the market. I'm addicted to it. I love pre-market with Mikey. One, he's my boy. Two, I love chatting with you guys. Um, and the big moves when they're happening are in pre-market. Like if you're not trading pre-market or the open, you know, you're missing out on the most powerful explosive moves. So I like to be there when it opens. So that wakes me up easy. I basically just drink coffee. My girlfriend's great. She usually makes me breakfast. I don't have a lot to do before I sit down at my setup and get going. I do like to get my workouts done in the morning too, but when it's so cold and I work out in my garage, that's more of a summer thing for me. Nice, Bluebird. All right, guys.